Hour in the courts, and particularly in the High Court in Pietermaritzburg, which has dismissed an application by the late King Goodwill Zwelithini's first wife to nullify his 5 other marriages. Queen Sibongile Zulu also argues that as the first wife married in community of property, she deserved half of King Zwelithini's estate. Court is still in session. Let's go live now to eNCA's Lethiwe Mdluli, who is following developments from outside court and joins us now for an update. So, Lethiwe, major developments inside court, but also you're watching the situation outside, because that's the theater where much of the, the external issues of the kingdom will be playing themselves out, with supporters in particular of King Misuzulu coming through there.
Well, Tulasiza, for now, it's still fairly quiet compared to yesterday, but some supporters are slowly trickling in. I've seen a few members of Amabutho, but what I want to make reference to today is the amount of police presence outside the Pietermaritzburg High Court this morning. There is quite an increased number of police vehicles compared to yesterday. As you did see yesterday, that the amount of Amabutho and maidens who came out to support the royal family in court was extremely large. There was a large number of gatherings, and as you did make a reference on our last crossing, that the Prime Minister for Amazulu, Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi, did ask people to not gather and come to court, but unfortunately yesterday we did see a large number of people who came to support the royal family. I had a chance to speak to those family or some of those supporters, and they were saying that they just wanted to show support to the different factions, but the faction that I was speaking to, or the supporters that I was speaking to, were the faction that supported King Misuzulu Zwelithini being the next king for Amazulu Nation. But for now, it's quite very quiet outside. We're just seeing a lot of police presence, and a few members of Amabutho, those leaders, they are here, they are waiting outside. Of course, while court proceedings are underway, we did hear earlier on that the amendments made to that application of Queen Madlamini was dismissed by the judge, and we are currently hearing that the lawyer or her lawyers are still arguing that amendment still stands, and they're still wanting for those marriages to be nullified. But of course, the decision was made earlier that will not be happening.
Let's take a step back, Lethiwe, just for the benefit of some of our viewers. When we say amendment to her papers, what are we talking about? Is it the argument that she submitted papers but did not really make out the plea that says, therefore, High Court Judge Madondo, please declare the other marriages that my late husband entered into to be null and void? Is it our understanding from listening to the arguments yesterday that she did not make that plea, and she was seeking to now to be allowed to add that on as the application has gotten underway?
Well, Tulasiza, from the judge's words yesterday, what he did say was that Queen Madlamini and her lawyers failed to show exactly what she wanted. And her affidavit did not clearly state exactly what she wanted. So she then had to, or the lawyers then had to make an amendment and clearly state exactly that they wanted the other 5 marriages to be nullified. And that amendment was made yesterday during a court adjournment of 5 minutes. We then heard her lawyers saying that that is exactly what they wanted. They wanted the other 5 marriages to be nullified because they believe, or they understand, from their understanding, is that Queen Madlamini was the only wife that entered into a civil marriage with the late king, and so she was seeking 50% of the estates from the royal house, and because of that they wanted the other marriages to be declared invalid. And unfortunately those papers that they filed in the first place did not indicate that, so they had to make that amendment, and the judge was saying that he would make his decision this morning, and of course he did deliver that ruling, saying that he does not want, or that amendment does not pass, and that matter unfortunately did not go Queen Madlamini's way. And we understand now what is currently happening is that her lawyers are still arguing that they do have a point when they want those marriages to be nullified. But of course there are 2 other matters that they still need to hear regarding the will and also the next successor, because we do understand that those 2 applications, they've not been touched. The only matter that is taking center stage for now is that of Queen Madlamini.
All right. I've got to thank you for that update. Let's leave it there. That's eNCA's Lethiwe Mdluli out in Pietermaritzburg. She's tracking that court case there. It does get a bit complex, and so we try to emphasize and re-emphasize what the point of that application is. We've not even gotten to the point where the will of the late king is actually being considered in earnest. At this point, we're simply talking about the validity of the 5 other marriages that the late King Goodwill Zwelithini had entered into after marrying Queen Sibongile Dlamini in a civil marriage, as they are called. So that is what we are dealing with at this stage. Still some way to go on that case.